Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So visualize this. You're coming home from work, swing the door open to your place. What do you feel? Is it a feeling of, I'm home. This is good. Every room, it's comfortable. Or is it like, man, all right, I'm home, whatever. Oh, I got to do that. I got to do that. I got to take care of this, take care of that. It should be the first example. And if it's not, we're going to look at some of the reasons why maybe something might be missing as we give you 10 things everyone needs in their living space. Doesn't matter if you've got a studio apartment, you're living in a mansion. These are all essential items, we'll call them, based on principles of design, based on an expert who joins us today as our professional of the year. She is the owner and interior designer at Rise Interiors. Mary Jo Major is back with us. How are you doing?
Hey, Steve. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's cool to have you back here.
Yes.
I'm curious what we're going to get to in this list and how it applies to us.
Yeah.
And I think we should all keep a list in our heads of how many of these things that may be missing in our living space. And am I right in saying that this is based on traditional design principles?
Yes. And based off my experience,
Okay.
I would say as well. And what I've seen works, right? What I've seen makes sense in someone's spaces. So yes, and my goal with this list is to make sure that even if you have kind of a ginormous living room or a smaller one, this can apply to all of it.
All right, let's go. And in no particular order.
Right. In no particular order.
Okay.
There's not, number one isn't the most important.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
Sure.
the first thing I would say that I would really recommend everyone have is a rug, which sounds kind of, mundane, sounds like, oh, that's what everyone has, but you'd be surprised. I do have some clients that don't, especially if they have carpet. I think sometimes you can think that if you have carpet, you don't need a rug on top. And I would argue that a rug kind of defines a space and helps, you're grounded. So it is the first thing that I would make sure you have in your space. Even though it's not the highest priority in this list, I think it's a big one.
Got one wrong. I don't have, where I am now, I don't have not counting bath mats.
Okay.
Don't have a single rug. And I've been thinking about it don't judge, for my bedroom, because I can see it underneath the bed and that same bed. And it's a substantial bed. I'm going to say it's, my friends call it the man bed because it's kind of big. And I did testimonials on the radio and earned it that way. It's like it's a rug in bed. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it needs a rug. And even in the living room, I don't have a rug. I have really cool hardwood floors. And they're not brown, they're more of a gray tone. And I kind of like them. I don't know if it's in or not, but whatever.
Yeah, pretty.
I like the way it looks. And then I'm like, well, why mess it up with a rug? But the rug adds warmth and some character. And then of course you got the design, so it adds a little visual interest too, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. It adds all those things. And it's, if you think about it, since you have wood, it does kind of protect it from a functional standpoint when you have a rug over the areas that you're around a lot. And so
Sure.
I don't know if you have pets, but sometimes rugs kind of actually help protect those main areas as well in terms of function. But I also like the rugs, that just, they make the room feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I get it. And I see that my bedroom would be more comfortable looking, especially when you get out of bed and then your foot hits the floor and it's just to hit a rug. So, okay.
Yes.
All right. That's number one. Number two, what do we got?
All right. So number two, and this usually comes with, I would say, most people's homes when they purchase it, but I really love having at least one exciting light fixture somewhere in the house. It can be in a bathroom, over a dining room table. That's usually where it is. It can be in a stairwell. It can be in your bedroom, but something that's not your standard looking kind of light.
Okay. Yeah. And all of us have to think about that. I mean, I have kind of a cool, funky fixture in the bathroom.
Okay.
I don't know if that qualifies, but certainly Um, any of us can, and it's really not that expensive. Place like
Oh,
Home Depot, big box store, whatever it is. And I'm not dispensing advice here, but I can say even to install it when you shut the power off,
that's right.
you follow the instructions. It's not really rocket science. There's typically, you have the neutral, the hot, and the ground. Just follow the directions and you should be okay.
Right.
And I think that the electrical is the easy part. I think mounting it is the harder part,
Oh
to make
gosh.
sure it's done right, supports and everything. So,
Yes.
all right.
Well, your designer tells you that you should use an electrician, but
Yes,
you're
you
having
should.
you totally I have many a client that does do it themselves. So I don't have any as long as it's safe, that's all I'm
You are right. You're 100 billion% right. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer.
disclaimer, disclaimer. The designer wants it to be done safely.
Yeah.
Number one, that's actually the number one thing in design school, Steve, that they teach you. I remember one of the $1 million questions they ask you is, so what's your job? And you're trying to figure out, "Well, I don't know." And then they're like, it's safety. It's your safety. And we're like,
Okay. Well, okay. On the flip side of that,
uh-huh.
when it comes to, I'm good with the electrical,
Ah,
to a major point. When it comes to plumbing, phone comes out. Just not
yes.
not my thing. Don't
Yes.
enjoy it. Boring. I never have great results with it. And so that's
Smart.
mine. So
Smart
yeah.
man. Smart
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Yes, I
Don't touch
agree.
it. All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
So light fixture number two,
Light
interesting light
fixture number
fixture.
two.
And number
Yes.
number three would be
Well, number three, and this, I'll preface this by saying this could actually be these lists can be in your living room, but they could be in other rooms as well.
sure.
But I would say one of the things that I've felt like really makes the most sense is a mirror. And in my list, I would say specifically in your bedroom, like a floor length mirror of some sort. But in your living room, something, whether it's by kind of closer to the fireplace, maybe to some people do it over their fireplace, or some people do it by their dining room table, or some
Hmm.
people do it, wherever. Time and time again, mirrors really reflect a lot of light into the room and they make the room feel bigger. So I feel like it's a win-win when you put one in your space.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. I don't have one in my bedroom.
Uh-huh.
I had one when I moved. I had a big mirror over the dresser, but I
Okay.
I wanted to mount the TV there,
Right. Right.
and then I sold it. And somebody actually bought it, got a couple of good bucks for it. It's a
That's
nice one.
awesome.
But like for a full length, if I need that, if I'm getting dressed and going out somewhere or whatever, I walk in my daughter's room and use hers. But you're right. I should I see a purpose for it and how it adds more depth to a room as well.
Yes. And I would say for people who maybe don't have that space in their bedroom, they're like, my bedroom is full of dressers and everything else. I don't have a spot for it. The over the door like floor length mirrors work just fine.
Sure.
So I would
Um,
say, you can use, or even in your closet. So I feel like there's usually a way to kind of wiggle it in somewhere.
yeah, and you can make it interesting and fitting because of the frame around it. Like when you talk about near the
Right.
fireplace in the living room, there's a lot of variations there.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And right now, if you want I guess a trend alert, there's colored mirrors are becoming a huge thing. I
Hmm.
recently went to this huge kind of trade show, and there was a company that has, like 8 different finishes now on their mirrors: lavender, blue, poppy red, like this coral color. So yeah, colored mirrors are actually sneaking their way in. So take
Huh.
it for what you will. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but a lot of people are using it, whether it's the color, that coordinates with something else they have, or it's just kind of like the pop.
I wasn't aware of that. Then I start thinking deeper. If a company wanted to really capitalize on it,
Uh-huh.
make it so that it's LED and you can change the color cast of the mirror.
Oh, yes.
Hmm.
That would be cool. You mean around the edges?
Yeah, and it would
Yeah.
cast that color onto the mirror itself, and you could just
Wow.
change it in any combo.
I've seen something where the light has been built in and you can adjust if it's warm or cool, for like a movie star type of mirror, but I
Okay.
haven't seen the colored. but I also
Hmm.
have to look for it. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's out there. What
Yeah,
one
I'm sure
for
too.
you? Do you want one? I'll find one for you. I'll find
You're
one.
the best. You're the best. I love it. I love them. I believe in my living room when I feel that something is missing. I'm good with my bedroom. When
Mhm.
I'm looking in the living room, I feel that the mirror would add something. I really do. I'm not just saying that.
Yeah, and to your point earlier about the light fixtures, those are pretty easy to find kind of all across the market, high or low end. You can buy them at,
Yes.
any retailer really.
Yep.
So I will caution that there is such a thing as a too small mirror. You don't want, like the size of your wall, but I do find that some people will kind of they tend to go like on the smaller scale, and I would say whatever you feel comfortable with, maybe go an extra 6 inches up at least in terms of
Okay.
diameter.
It's funny in my mind. That's what I was struggling with because I'm seeing it on my fireplace.
Okay.
Man, yeah, I've brick there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not red brick. It's like just cool tone.
Yeah.
Um, I can see it there, but I'm also struggling with how big.
How
So
big?
go bigger than
Yes.
what you think.
Yes. Well, with those kind of statement areas like the fireplace or your sofa or something, I usually try if I'm eyeballing it around like 2/3, somewhere around there to kind of take up enough of the space, but not, that fine balance between too small, too big, but somewhere in that range, the two
Gotcha.
thirds.
All right. So mirrors number three. What do we have at number four?
Yeah, so this one has been pretty popular, especially over the last few years, but plants, some sort of plant, and it can be fake. It doesn't even need to be real.
Mm-hmm.
It can be
Yep.
fake.
Yep.
But I do think that having some sort of live or live looking ingredient in the room, it does something. It does something to your psyche. And I think that it can be small, it can be big. And I do have clients that are huge real life plant people. And I think that that is, you know, awesome. I don't have any, I think that as long as it's kind of like another kind of pet where you
Yep.
have to just
Yep.
routinely take care of it. But I think that for those who, have a lot of other things going on in their life, or they just can't keep a plant alive to save their life, then a fake one is the best way. I see you have one.
I do. I
You
do.
have one.
It's
Oh, well, that's what I'm
however,
saying. It
ha
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It still brings that same.
this was actually in another room in this office. This is
Okay.
in an office building, and I moved it there because I just it fit there. And there's another fake plant right there, but if you look to that side, there's a succulent over there. There's
Okay.
some kind of plant over there. I'm not sure what it
Okay.
is, and
Okay.
there was one previously in that pot, and it's bigger.
Right.
It didn't last. This one's lasting. I have sort of
That's
a
good.
palm tree in that office, and on a refrigerator, low refrigerator, I have a plant that somebody gave me when my mom passed 5 years ago, and that's the
Wow.
special one. So, and it's actually due for
Yeah,
a little water now. So I'm always plants make such a big difference. They really do.
they really do. And I would encourage anyone who doesn't have it just to start small. Just get something really affordable from the next big box store you walk into, or even
Totally.
honestly, like even thrift stores, whatever, and put it somewhere where you can kind of see it, just to see, even if it's on your desk.
Totally. And you won't know it until you know it, but once it's there,
Yeah.
you will start feeling just something, just in a positive way.
Yeah.
Home, unfortunately, because I have two very active cats, no live plants. They would be into, I put a piece of plastic saran wrap on the counter, just a piece, not the box. They're onto it. I mean,
Yeah.
anything. So it would have to be artificial.
Right.
That being said, I don't have any, so I really should step it up and get some artificial. Yeah.
Right. Even if, I mean, even if, well, the cats probably won't mess with a cactus. You can,
Hmm.
but that's in a whole other world. Yeah, I think that that having some sort of something green.
So
But you
funny,
already know,
funny
you already know the
story.
drill.
You mentioned cactus, so I got to share this because I had a conversation with somebody like 2 days ago. So I bought my daughter just a small, tiny cactus, very
Okay.
inexpensive, and had these three orange flowers on top. And I'm like, wow,
Oh,
so nice. So she's had it on her dresser for quite some time. I go in there and I'll give it a little bit of water. I'm like, wow, it's amazing how this thing is thriving. Ah, amazing. And then I put the light on and realized that the flowers are hot glued onto the cactus. They're not real. I'm like, what? I got taken. And it
Oh
looks so real. But if I didn't know, to your point of artificial, it's a real cactus, but the flowers are not. In my mind, they're real. So the intent is there
my gosh.
and it
Right,
has the same effect.
right.
So,
Well, I mean, there's no rules. That I mean,
no,
even though they're hot glued, they still count.
but that's my point in all of this. Why I even
Yeah,
brought this point up when you say artificial, artificial can be just as beneficial as a real plant
right,
if your intent in your mind is, yeah, I want it there just because aesthetically it looks good. It just makes me feel good. Then good. It doesn't matter if
right.
it's real or not.
It's so true. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Psychological. All right. So
Yes.
number 5 of the top 10 things that everybody needs in their space.
Yes. I this is one that doesn't get a lot of attention, but I feel like every time I've done this in a client's home, it has made a difference, is having an attractive laundry hamper. So that sounds kind of far left field, if you will. Like you're kind of like, why? What's the point of that? But I kid you not, every client who I have done a more attractive laundry hamper for, in it doesn't have to be the thing that you bring to the washing
The
machine.
basket, the
And
basket. Yep.
right. I'm talking the thing that you put your clothes in. It just makes a difference. So that's
I,
yeah.
I hear you, and I believe I have a fairly nice one,
Okay.
and but I keep pillows in it, and
So you don't even keep the laundry.
and anybody that's over sees a pile of clothes on top of it. I
Okay,
don't
all
even
right.
use it for that.
Okay.
And my thinking is, and it's wrong thinking, that it's just more convenient for me to put it, but it looks
I know.
ridiculous. You just, have socks and, shorts on
I
top of
know.
it. I got to
I
get in the
know.
habit, put the pillow someplace else in a closet up top somewhere, and then put the stuff in there. You know what it is? We don't realize what we do until somebody points it out. And if you think of energy and movement of energy,
Mhm.
those clothes on top of my hamper, it's blocking energy. It shouldn't be there. So if you think of everything else in terms of placement, I
Yeah.
think there's something there. I don't know.
Right. Well, and I know that in a everyday kind of, you wake up, you get dressed, you come home, I understand how you just get into habits where, yeah, that's just kind of the norm. I had a client once who specifically wanted a chair that she would only put her clothes on. So it was a pretty chair, but it was where she put all her clothes on it. And, we knew that going into it,
Yep,
eyes
yep.
wide open. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of that everyday,
Sure.
whatever, monotony. But I think that there are times when you kind of tell yourself, oh no, that's unnecessary. That's unneeded. I don't need that. I don't need to focus on that. And I would just push back a little bit and say at some point, it is okay to give yourself permission to get something that is nicer, that
Mm.
is a little bit more elevated, whether it is, something small or something big. But in this case, this is a place where I think that a lot of people again kind of say, "Oh, that's not important. I'm not going to spend any money on it." But it is this kind of this mindset more of making sure that you um almost like a self-worth maybe.
Sure.
I don't
You're
want to
worth
go
it.
too deep, but
No, I
yeah,
got you. I got you. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Uh, so number 8, I'm intrigued.
yes.
And I love these because they're very easy to obtain. It's not like, big budget type stuff here.
No, 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 no. Yeah, so yeah, the next few are kind of minimal, kind of like the others, but a throw blanket, I feel like everyone needs one.
Yeah, just bought them. Just bought them.
There you go. There you go. Everyone needs
Yeah.
one somewhere, bedroom, living
Mhm.
room. The other thing I would say is a hook or a little table, something by where you come in. So it could be your doorway, it could be, stairway, whatever. I think that it's easy sometimes to just kind of just drop your stuff or not necessarily have a zone.
Sure.
And I would encourage everyone to have at least something, some sort of placeholder where they can just kind of put their stuff that's not the floor or the dining room table.
You know what? And that also lends itself to less stress because how many times, where to put the keys? Where are the keys? Well, if you had
Yeah.
walk in, put them there, it's always in the same spot. Um, and there's a lot of attractive, some of them even include mirrors where there's a piece of, furniture,
Yes,
whatever you want to call it, that has hooks, that maybe has a shelf. Maybe you get the mirror done at that point as well.
that's
But
right.
yeah, a system.
Yes, a system, a system. So,
Hmm.
functional and beautiful.
Yep, absolutely.
The best part of design. And then the next one I would say is make sure that there's at least one table that that's not a rectangle or a square. And so this is something that I don't know if
Hmm.
everyone would agree with. It may be a little bit of a controversial tip, but I have one table somewhere, whether it's living room, dining room, your bedroom, whatever, that isn't rectangular or square.
Interesting.
Right.
Hmm.
And it can be a pair. I understand if you have them on either side of something, but I do feel that it helps the space kind of move more. I don't know. It's hard to
I
explain, but
gotcha. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, again, back, I think, to flow of energy. If it's something, it's not edges, but has, some kind of a softer feel to it.
Mhm.
Um, hmm. Never thought of that, but I've seen lots of pictures with more rounded tables in it. And that could
Yes.
be an end table. It could be, and now I'm thinking back to previous places where I've lived where I had round tables and I actually kind of liked them.
Yeah.
It added something to it.
Right. And even now there's some you could even be a little bit more exciting if you wanted to and do something that is, they have these that are like these almost like a kidney shaped where they're kind of like these oblong kind
For
of
sure.
ovals. And they have some that are even like these funky hexagons. Like there's all kinds of different shapes. But I would just say kind of break out to contrast all those hard edges
Gotcha.
somewhere.
But back to and that was 10, right? We did 10.
Close. We have a couple more.
Oh,
Almost
okay.
there.
Go. What you
Yeah.
got?
Well, that last two, I was gonna say the next one on the list is adding some sort of fabric that's not like the others. So instead of having everything all the same feel or texture, having something somewhere that feels different. So that could be, I mean, velvet, leather, linen,
Gotcha.
something that feels different. I really feel like that makes the space feel a lot better, whatever
Richer.
it is. Yeah. And then the last thing, it's no surprise. I'm a big fan of art and something that brings you joy to your wall. So that could be wallpaper or it could be photos of your family. Something that you have on the wall that you have that looks and reflects you.
That's important. We're out of time, but I want to illustrate what you said. I took this huge piece of art that includes some fabric and some glass when I moved.
Okay.
And I'm going to be very honest here. And I just brought it with me because I had it.
Okay.
It does nothing for me.
Oh,
I'm over it. Like it's just that was then, this is now kind of thing.
yeah.
So to your point, I need to remove that. And it was a ton of, it's huge and heavy. It's time to change it up because it doesn't add anything to me. Yeah, it looks great in the room and it fits or whatever, but there's what you just said brings you joy. Something's missing from it.
Yeah. That's
Mm,
right. It makes it, yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Take it off. Take it
Yeah.
off.
And here's the funny part. There's a table nearby, and one of my cats stands on the table so he can get to the art, like he stretches. And because
What?
there's a little bit of fabric, he's like, I'm like, stop it, what are you doing? He just barely makes it. And I've even sprayed it with repellent and stuff doesn't work. But
Well, I was
um,
about to say maybe you've just found your next cat scratcher. Maybe you just take that off the wall and that's
put it
what
on the
you
floor.
put it on the floor
Right.
and then you
Exactly.
just, yeah,
Well, well,
repurpose,
well,
upcycle.
somebody likes it.
Hey,
Ricky the cat, he loves it.
that's right. That's right.
Love these tips. So down to earth, so grounded, and easy to attain. And this is just a
Yeah.
piece of what you offer when you work with clients. How do we find you, Mary Jo?
Yes, you can find me through my website, riseinteriors.co.
Yep, and Rise RISE Interiors
RISE. Mm-hmm.
dot
Interiors with an S.
and dot co, not dot com.
That's correct. You
Super
got it.
cool. All right. Thank you so much for being here today and for all the tips.
Welcome.
And we'll catch up soon. Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks so
Thanks.
much.
Thank you. We'll be right
Bye.
back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.